4 new people are not visible or audible. If you have the equipment, at the bottom of your screen, people are not visible or audible. If you have the equipment, at the bottom of your screen, people are not visible or audible. Near the center, you have the equipment. At the bottom of the microphone, are not visible or audible. Near the center, you have the equipment. At the bottom of the microphone, are not visible or audible. Near the center, you have the equipment. At the bottom of the microphone, was not visible or near the center, you have the equipment. At the bottom of the microphone, was not visible or near the center, you have the equipment. At the bottom of the microphone, was not visible.
There was some terrible feedback going on, and I think it had to do with Bruce trying to set up. There was a big B in the middle of the screen.
Yes.
So apparently you two were interacting. I can't hear you, Dick.
Uh-oh.
Dick, you're on mute.
Dick, you're still muted again.
Here I come. Am I back yet?
You're back.
Good. Sorry, folks. People who aren't talking, turn your microphone off, and you don't have to turn it back on. You can just use the space bar as a live switch. When you hold the space bar down, your mic will be live. When you let go, it will go off again if it's muted on the screen.
So press to talk.
If most people do that, we won't get those very interesting echoes and repeats. And that will be a good thing. Good. I think it's all fixed now. Okay. Hi, John. I see you now. Can you hear me?
Yes, but he
Yes.
And your space bar worked fine. Good. You sound good too. Good. I think it's about time for us to get started. We have a very small turnout. I'm kind of surprised. I think nobody needs an introduction to what FOSS is about, free open source software, but people will be tuning in hours and days to come. For those people, if you want an introduction, just look at the posted agenda, which got you here, and you'll see how you can read the slideshow about the introduction. And you can go play an older month of our meeting that has the intro in it, if you wish. So much for the intro. FOSS is wonderful. FOSS is free. FOSS is generally ignored by those who haven't caught on to it yet. And it's the solution to a lot of problems out there this year. It's also a lot of free software beyond just talking to each other. And we use it heavily and recommend it. We sell our services at millermicro.com, Miller Microcomputer Services, in order to earn our money. But once a month, we give it away for free at this meeting. And a bunch of other people who work or play with it or like us both are here as well. We help each other. We'll help you, and maybe you'll help us some if you're a newcomer to the group. On with the show. I am going to look for my screen and put it online instead of my face. And first, I'll share it. And then thought I'd be sharing it by now. There it is. Good. And I'll make it big so I can see what I'm talking about.
Sit down here.
Yep. And that was supposed to work. I'm not seeing my screen. Yes, I am now. Okay. And let's see, first of all, I will go to my mail, and in my mail, I'll find the draft agenda. This is what we're going to be working from today. But first, I'm going to take the Linux I am using, which happens to be Ubuntu Linux, the latest version, and with a front end named Unity, which is not the standard one anymore, although Ubuntu developed it themselves. It's now maintained by volunteers, and I'm going to use its tools. Over on the left, the Unity launcher has various things I can use, and I'm going to go into one of them first. I'm going to go to the Unity Tweak tool. Here it is, and in it, I'm going to go to cursors. I've got this little white cursor, which might be hard to see at times. So why don't I, first of all, make it big, use large cursors, big cursor, and while I'm at it, I'll make it red. A little easier to see. That's one trick. It's done. I'll close the tool. And now, my next trick, I'm going to double click on this line in all the emails I'm looking at, because that's the one I want to see big. Double click it, and here I am big. Control plus will make it even bigger. And I think that's a little bigger than I want. So about there, I guess. And we'll probably work from that today. We don't have to say FOSS user group up top, or we can make it a little tighter on the screen, like so. Whoa, it's touchy today.
That's twitchy.
Oh, that'll do. And now for my last trick on this, I'm going to go into a set of 4 workspaces that I have set up. 3 of them are just looking at my desktop wallpaper, which is changing about now. Now, good. And on my desktop wallpaper, I have 3 free workspaces. I'm going to take this particular window and move it to a separate workspace. And now I can continue to work on this workspace, which is my home page, or on the other one. I'll switch over to it. And this is where I'll be half the time today, going from one thing to the next. So I put it in a separate workspace, and I'll work from there. Whatever I'm doing, I can quick drop back to it without disturbing the other setup yet. So that's this section in here. I just completed it. Make a really big cursor. And by the way, the Unity Tweak tool is available on the Ubuntu software repository online, which is curious because Unity itself no longer is. We'll have instructions elsewhere for that. And then I move this agenda to a separate workspace. When I set up Ubuntu, I set up the option for workspaces, and therefore I have them. I could have 2 by 1, 2 by 2, which I have, 2 by 3, 3 by 3, 3 by 2. Use your imagination. So if I want 16 workspaces, I can have them if I have enough memory. And I've got a nice whopping big computer here. It'll do it.
But your screen space might not be big enough here, but if you put it up on the TV, it would be.
Yep. I can also run from a TV and do more tricks. Anyway.
Dick, question. Do you have just one instance of Jitsi and these workspaces are different instances of Unity?
Yes.
I have one instance of Ubuntu, but the images in the Ubuntu display are being split onto different screens. Jitsi is separate from that. It's beyond all of this is in my computer, and Jitsi is hooking my computer to you. So it's beyond this issue. And And Ubuntu is, except for a couple of settings. The setting workspaces are in Ubuntu. And here, I'll go look at them for a minute. Let me come back to my side of, this is my display. I can put you guys back on it. There's more people showing now. Like, for those of you who don't know, slight right from the center set is toggle tile view. You can click on that to look like this or like this. Now you know. That's in Jitsi. Nice tool. And let's see, question mark in Jitsi. Shift question mark, maybe? Yep. Shift question mark will bring up the keyboard shortcuts for Jitsi, which Jill and I have printed out and we're looking at a while ago. So that's the Jitsi part. Now over here, I am going to go, oh, that cursor isn't in this window, see? Back to the big cursor. And I'm going to open System Settings. And in System Settings, I'm going to open Appearance. I think I'm in the right place. We'll find out. And in Appearance, I'm going to click on Behavior, Enable Workspaces. So there you go. That easy. So that's where the workspaces came from.
Do you have to set it up ahead of time to have multiple workspaces?
I don't think you do.
So where do you tell it how many workspaces?
I'm not going to give you an answer right now. Does someone know a quick answer? We're getting in deeper than what I was preparing for today.
Not for Unity, I don't. I know about GNOME because there's a shell extension.
Okay. I think you set it up the same way. But in any case, it's there, and we can do it another day. It's not on my list for today, and my brain is crowded with my list for today. So back I go.
Follow-up question?
Yes.
So applications, when they are running in a workspace, is the application running in its own memory space and resource spaces?
Good question.
No, typically workspace is just a different display. It's not a container or anything like that.
Correct. It's a display only. So the
applications only display in the workspace.
Correct.
I think it's like an extension of a different window, but that takes up the whole screen as if it were a separate.
It is not a container. Dennis is correct. And Ubuntu is doing the same work it was doing before, except for the way it's parsing the display into some new virtual windows, not virtual computers.
Just the displays.
Yes, that's the difference. And it's lightweight, and so on and so forth.
So it's heavily dependent on graphics resources too, right?
To some degree, yes. Put in 20 by 20 windows and you'll find that out. But you wouldn't want it anyway. Okay, let's look at some Linux news. The biggest news for today was non-news, at least as of a few hours ago. And that is today was the day that Ubuntu Linux was going to release 20.04.1. Hadn't happened yet. So we won't be discussing it today, but it will have security changes I don't care about because I've been getting them anyway. But the install version will now have them for people starting with Ubuntu. And there'll be very minor changes in the major tools, but there'll be a few new tools aboard also, and a few new tweaks leading toward even bigger things in September when there's a major release. So there'll be a few new things to look at, but I don't think they'll affect regular usage for someone who's already using it. That's the non-news. They didn't make it for most of today anyway. And they're releasing from Europe where it's getting late. Meanwhile, Linus Torvalds, the guy who took the steps required to move Unix and then Multics into the Linux that we met on IBM PCs and a few other things early on, is still maintaining the kernel for Linux, among other things. And he has just released the Linux 5.8 kernel. I won't see it for a while until Ubuntu and Debian, for that matter, have checked it through, because Ubuntu is built on Debian Linux. And when they get it all fine-tuned or decide it is fine-tuned already, they'll release it and I'll be running it. It can happen in a day, it could happen in a few weeks. And meanwhile, it's interesting to note that with no lag, maybe a couple of hours, GNU Linux, the Free Software Foundation, released its version of the same new kernel. This means they've been working with the draft versions all along, and they apparently did a lot of work to get rid of a few pieces within that kernel that are not all free software. They're leaning on things which in some countries are considered open and in some countries are not. Some proprietary companies do it that way. It's confusing, and they have offered an alternative kernel that doesn't have those issues. So we'll hear more about it. I'm not going to care. I'm going to let the folks at Debian and Ubuntu and the other ones on that line care for me. They're a good group I lean on. So I'll just wait till I get it. But it's interesting, they both came out together, and we'll be hearing from them sometime in the near future as they step our Linux up to speed. Meanwhile, Red Hat, everybody knows IBM, but Red Hat is another very large company, not that large, and they major in Linux. They major in it mostly for big corporations, and they'll go into your corporation and give you a full-time team or a half an hour when you need it, anytime you need it. Kind of like us, but for really big corporations. And they put out their own flavor, as Ubuntu does. Ubuntu also provides that sort of service for large companies. However, Red Hat has undergone a major change. Over the years, a fellow named Jim Whitehurst, you'll see him in the second half of that one, became a major administrator and eventually the CEO of Red Hat. And he worked out a deal over the past year or two. And what do you know? IBM bought Red Hat, and everyone in the Red Hat ownership of its stock, including its major employees, made a lot of money on the deal. And then what happened next was Red Hat continued business as usual, which is what they expected. But the past couple of weeks have been quite different. And what IBM has been doing is cutting its own main operation by about 5,000 employees, which won't be much of a dent for IBM. And what do you know? Here's the news. Cutting Red Hat by about 5,000 employees without warning. And what's going on here is really interesting because part of the deal was Jim Whitehurst What do you know? He became the CEO of IBM. How can he be doing this to his own company, which of course 5,000 is a much bigger dent in that smaller company? How could he be doing it? Well, the people who are getting fired and some of the people inside anonymously are talking. And they say he doesn't even use GNU Linux. He works on an Apple with Apple software. He, he is the ultimate manager who isn't involved in the detail of the company. And he sold it out to IBM. That's what it looks like today. We'll be hearing more, and you can read more right in the thread that I gave you, that we'll give you tonight or tomorrow morning here. You'll have all these threads once we find out what the final version of the meeting was and release the final version with the appropriate links. That'll be one of them because we talked about it. So you'll be able to click, you'll be able to see the rest. This is sabotage from within to somebody's benefit and to somebody's loss. And we don't use Red Hat Linux,
But Jerry
but
Feldman
we
does.
benefit from it because Red Hat has contributed a lot of free open source software that we do use. They've been a valued player and will be less valuable with this problem. I predict that a lot of those employees will form Red Hat 2 with a different name and will be back. We will see. Free software is good that way. So a dirty trick, but how it plays out is going to be very interesting. Next case. And I should mention, Red Hat also puts out, I believe, Fedora. Is that correct?
Yes, I use Fedora, and that is a Red Hat. It's basically their testing version.
Well, I think Fedora is going to take a hit but recover a lot faster. But you might have better predictions than me on that one. By next month, I think we're going to have a lot more clues on this news. So we shall see. On to the next. This is a sad story too, but one that got mostly fixed within a few days. We normally talk about big problems with Microsoft and occasionally with Mac. Mac is more a limited field of what you can have. They're usually more bulletproof because they limit the field of what you can have. But Windows and Linux don't limit the field in that sense. And Linux is by far the more secure of the two for the reasons we've gone over in the introductory talk on other days. But this is one in the Linux lap for a change. And what happened is a week or two ago, a patch came out for a new vulnerability called boothole. That's the name good people attached to the bad problem that was going around as malware. And it was affecting some Linux. So the Linux folks who are good at this sort of thing in many corners worked to develop a patch so that boothole couldn't basically kill the boot on your system, after which you can't do much. So they sent around a patch, and the different groups adopted it or tested and modified it a bit and sent it to their users, including us with Ubuntu. We didn't have a problem, but some people did. And the article will go through which versions got hit the worst, which versions didn't get hit at all, which versions patched it well and quickly. But the point is the first patch went out too soon by Linux. And that's very unusual, and that's what it's about. And what it did, indeed, is it kept you from being able to boot your computer. You had to do a major repair from outside to fix it, which a beginner would need help with. This was a really bad one, very unusual in my experience. And I think everyone's got it fixed a few days later. It's now about a week later. I think everything's fine. But it's new. It's big trouble. I want to know how it got through the normal filters for getting it right before it gets distributed. We'll know more soon. That's all I know about it, and this will be a good place to follow up for more news. On to hot software. I don't think many kids are going back to school this September. The young ones probably aren't going to be volunteered to be used as guinea pigs. And we already know that young kids and college age and between are at least as good as spreading the coronavirus pandemic when they don't exhibit symptoms. So putting them all together to spread it is totally dumb at this stage. All the experts have said so, but politically there's a lot of pressure to open schools. The teachers' unions are kicking in about now, and I predict there's going to be a lot of homeschooling in September. Here's something you can share with your family, your friends, your teachers you know, a guide to open source for teachers. The first thing they're apt to do is use Zoom for communications instead of Jitsi as we're doing today, or one of the many other good alternatives to Zoom, which is unfortunately not a good alternative. It works, but leaves you vulnerable to other problems. So I think getting this around will be very valuable. You can read it later. It's long. I'm sure it'll be getting more on it as it grows, and maybe it'll lead to other ones like it as well. A major new resource. Mozilla Thunderbird is the mail program of choice that we use. Comes built in with Ubuntu and a lot of other programs, but it's not the one everyone uses. And a new version just got released with new, nice support on several levels, and we didn't receive it yet. I could go and load it custom, but I'm waiting for the version that comes with Ubuntu. So we'll have more on it next month, but you'll probably be seeing it within the week. So I thought I'd mention, if you're using Thunderbird and staying up to date, expect to see it soon, and you can read the article in the meantime. There you go. Well, if your kids aren't going to be back to school, or your relatives' kids aren't going to be back to school, somebody's going to be staying home with them. And it's going to be more and more computer time, more and more fun time. And pretty soon everyone will get sick of it. And you'll be getting cross-eyed and tired. Here comes Stretchly. Stretchly is a program you can install that does a fairly thorough job of interrupting you right on the computer screen every so often and telling you why you ought to stop and for 2 minutes do the following exercise. It's very customizable. You can decide how often. You can decide when you don't want to hear from it. You can decide which exercises aren't good ones for you, or which ones you want to do twice as often because they're that good for you. I think it's a great tool. I think there's some others like it, and maybe next month we'll have suggestions for others too. But give it a whirl. The more you sit in front of your computer, the more you'll wish you weren't so knocked out from sitting in front of your computer. So there's a way to fix it quickly. I like it. There's a high-powered one in here too. Calculate, spelled with a Q, claims to be the ultimate desktop computer. I gave it
Calculator.
Desktop calculator. It's sure pretty close. Does nice plots also, and with very fancy math. So for those of you who are into that sort of thing, take a look. It's over here on the first of the two links I put in there. The second one is, no, sorry. This is the article saying that it's really good and they've just come out with a new version with some new features, an article. And this is home base for them, where they'll tell you they're the ultimate desktop calculator and provide you with some amazing statistics and facts about it. So you can look it over there before you put it on your computer, or not, your choice. But it's available, it's free, and it's impressive. That's a lot of new stuff in the way of software. And we have one more. Dennis, is this a time for you to demonstrate the game of Small Trek? Hello, Dennis?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay.
Just trying to get mute to undo.
How do we get Dennis across, Joe?
What?
How do we get across so Dennis has control?
I think you get out of control and then Dennis can go in.
Just a minute. Let me go find Dennis.
Turn out, stop the sharing. Let Dennis share.
Okay, Dennis, I think you can share now. Let's see if
I
I'm
think
right.
he is.
Oh, good.
Okay, so you can see my screen, I take it?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is Game Hub. It's a game launcher that you can get under Linux. I've been playing around with it recently, so that's why I have this. So Small Trek is a game written for a Lumdare game jam. A game jam is where you go over and you have a limited amount of time to just build a new game. Lumdare is limited to 1 weekend. So you don't have a lot of time to design your game necessarily, although you can design it beforehand as long as you don't start programming it. But so it's all done and makes a really compact game typically. So this one was done by Impbox. And it's patterned off of Star Trek to some degree. So you start off, you're in space on the ship, and you can go around to other planets, and you have to solve the problem they have on their planet. The key commands they say on this are wrong on the version I have. I don't know whether the one you download from the itch.io site is correct or not, because I compile it locally. But it says X to land, and it's actually the shift key. So this is the game. You need to go over and try to make everyone happy. So right now you see the tension is at 100%. You can go over and scan people. And this tells you that he's a Roton, an intelligent rock-dwelling humanoid, prone to violence when not near rocks. So what you need to do is move him over so he's next to this rock. And these are Botarini, and they want to be next to plants. So you can go over and move your ship. And now if I move this guy over at the end, everyone's happy, and you leave. There's a whole bunch of different races that you encounter, all of them with different rules as to what they want. So over time, the puzzles become more and more complex. So this one, he wants diversity. So he wants other races around him. Let's see if I can find. After you get a little bit into the game, you also get the ability to warp to different quadrants. So there are 4 quadrants. And as I said, it's patterned a little off of Star Trek. So right here, you have the coordals. And they're essentially the tribbles from Star Trek. So if you go over and you take the tribble and move it next to one of them, they just fill the screen as much as possible. And at this point, this puzzle is impossible to solve since you can't move anywhere anymore. But by the time you get to the end levels, they tend to use the these tribble-like characters a lot, so that you have to figure out ways to get rid of them. So this race here, they get violent when they're displeased. So right now he's content because he's aligned with another one of his race. If you go over and move him out of the way, he starts killing the puddles. You can slowly make room to be able to move everyone around as needed. This is a rather grim feature of the game, but and so that's basically it. Any questions or anything?
I don't have a question, but thank you. And Dennis, this is interesting to me for a different reason. Coincidence, you say? I think not. I had been looking for a book I read a little bit about. A single author has put out first a novel about a world where human life is optimized for nice, for calm, for enjoyable, and the economy and such are organized to work to that end. And it was so popular, apparently, as a novel, back a ways, that he wrote a serious textbook about it. He teaches and lectures, and I'm trying to get that textbook on how to optimize basically cultures, countries, whatever, to benefit the individuals, not the 0.1%, et cetera. And I'll find it and I'll attach it because this game sounds like it goes with the novel and the serious one. Interesting. Thanks. And how do I, are you hearing me again and seeing me again? Yes, I think so. So I will now see what I did with my screen. Good. And
You skipped me because I had to reboot because my
okay,
computer wasn't plugged in and its
okay.
battery ran down.
Jill has a demo. She's not demoing now. And oh, I have a demo. Might be kind of fun. Fractal art. Back to mathematicians like that super calculator earlier. Some of us are old enough and were around Boston early enough that at MIT and Harvard, we got to see early demos and play with the early Mandelbrot fractal programs on computer. They weren't on a home computer yet. They were on terminals, on big systems, and they ran awfully slow. Very expensive equipment, but you might see the result in the morning. So we have magic here. I introduced chaos with the Greek X, chaos. Chaos, says Jill.
Like
And
Hanukkah.
and we've long since introduced Photox. I'm going to put the two of them together quickly and just demo what I've been enjoying with them. And first, I'll just go into Photox. Back to my other side. And I've got it in the computer. I'll bring it up. It's loading 1 zillion little thumbnails. I'm putting them in place, and it's about done. Now, there we are. And I've got 1 zillion photos in here. Never mind the detail. This is Jill right after the motorcycle accident.
You're not sharing your screen, Dick.
I'm not. Oh, okay. Just a minute. Thanks for the warning. This one has it. Oh. Am I getting there? Where if I know? What do I want that I didn't do, Joe?
You want to get to Chromium.
Did I have to do an S instead of a D?
Chromium.
Oh, I'm in a mixed environment. Okay, where's the share? Is that this guy?
Share is D.
What?
D.
D.
You just have to choose it.
And now we choose this screen, I guess. And share it. Oh, good. Boy, did I get rusty at this stage. The regular conversations don't do this.
You need to go over to what you want to show.
Wait a minute. And why is this off?
I don't know, but you need to go over to what you want to show.
Now I think I can play my game. Now we try Photox again. See if it works. Are you now seeing the images? Good.
Yes.
Good. Thanks, Jill. And have my test case next to me. And I will go into metadata, search, and let's see. I'll pick, get rid of.
No, you don't get rid of that.
I am getting rid of that.
Okay.
I'm not searching for that. Now I will pick some tags down here, and I will pick abstract, art. I think that's about as close as I have right now. I want to put a fractal tag in. I said, whoops, I missed. Proceed. Hello? Is it there? That should have worked. Oh, it's much slower here. That should have worked much faster. So something interesting is going on. And I didn't get what I asked for either. Interesting. Let me try that again. Quickly, metadata search. And abstract art. Let me get rid of art and say abstract wallpaper. See what that does. Again, it's running a little slowly with the other loads going on, I guess. Because it's heavy on graphics and we're leaning on the graphics today. I think. There we go. And it's a little more abstract to me. let's pick one of them. Ask about it. And it's abstract art, computer. Computer art, I'll bet we'll do it. That's the secret. I'm looking for the tags this one has on it.
Can't you redo it from there? Oh, no, because
no,
that's edit.
that'll redo this picture. I don't want
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So we'll cancel this. Let's have it open, just a minute. Oh, meta, search. And I did add something. It was computer. Come on, I know you're in here. Maybe you're not. Things. What do you know? Computer,
And art.
not robot. Computer, art.
You didn't get art.
My big fat cursor is
Too big and fat.
bigger than accurate for me. It's my fingers, it's not the computer. Computer art is getting selected. Again, it's going to take a little while. It normally does not. So the Jitsi link and the workstation. Why does that look like where I began? Never you mind. I'm looking. This is not making sense to me because I should have come to that. I'm seeing a lot of abstract, all right. That's the only one that was marked that way. Bummer. Well, never mind. The point is, this is an example of an image. Just a minute. I now can shift to source of it. So this is the image I created. And then I use Photox only to pizzazz it up a little bit. And I could also sharpen it, but in this case, I don't think it needed any sharpening. This is the one I created with Chaos, which we've been having a lot of just now. So I will leave Photox open in the background and go look for where Chaos is hiding in here. It should be about hither. Open Chaos. And I will make it full screen. And I will go to the fractal option, the outbound mode has a smooth control. Observe all the lines with different shades. That's the mathematical calculation, but it also has a smoothing calculation, and there it goes. That one worked a little faster. And now I'm in it with the style I would like. And I could have picked a different kind of fractal. It has many. I'll just go somewhere in it and start zooming in. This is what took overnight to do. Over and over and over, recalculating. And in this case, zooming in for the next calculation. And I'll say, we want to go somewhere, say, oh, we'll make the circle central, just for the argument. About there. I'll say that's what we want. I can do other things, but this is just once you get what you want. I personally like to take an image of it. I can often right-click to do that. This one goes backward when I right-click, so I won't do it that way. Drive it back a little towards center. And let's see. What was I doing this one with? Do you remember, Joe?
No.
Well, what I want to do is make a copy.
Did you use screen print?
I can use a simple screen print command from Ubuntu itself, which is function insert, does a print screen. There it is. And now it's going to tell me where would I like to save it. I don't want it in pictures yet. I'm going to put it in desktop, which has much less in it. And I'll save it there. I'm done with chaos. So I'll close it. And now, actually, I'll close Photox. If you remember, it had a lot of other things it was doing. And what I'll do instead is I'll open up my file manager, which is Nautilus, and I'll go into the desktop, double click, and this is the one I just made. I'll right click on it, open with Photox is one of my options. And here I am in Photox, not with everything else, but just with that. And it's 1920 by 1080 in size, because that's how many pixels are on my computer display. It's sized to that. That's fine for me. I can make it bigger if I want, but for me, I'll probably leave it at that size. And in Photox, the first thing I'll do is right-click. Whoops. Right-click. I use 2 fingers on a touchpad to do a right-click, and it almost works. I got a 1-finger click instead. Now I can select things, and what I normally do is I might edit the metadata. That's where we were, putting in tags and whatnot. But I normally would like to, I've got a place I'd rather go for this. If I go into Enhance, it will give me Voodoo 1 or Voodoo 2 that do a lot of automatic enhancing in the way I've preset, or the default one that came with Photox. I'll try one, Voodoo 1. It brightened it up a little. Not as much as I like, so I'll say undo. Toggle there. I can redo with a right click. I can undo with a left click. On the touchpad, I can do a single finger tap or a double finger tap for left and right click. What I'm going to do next instead is I'm going to bring out the big guns. I'm going to enhance, and I'm going to say Global Retinex. And in Global Retinex, I'm going to click a bright spot. Well, closest thing to a bright spot is about this, I suppose. I'll click it and see how I feel about it. Not bad, but maybe not what I want either. I'll leave it for the moment. I'll say OK, which will hold it as an option, but I can still step back and step forward. And now I'm going to go Edit, Retouch, and no. Yes, yes, Edit, Retouch, and I will just up brightness first to see if I like it. Yeah, I do. I will play with contrast and see if I want to change it. Maybe. I kind of liked it about where it started on that one. Saturation is pretty heavy right now. I could drop it, and I can bring it up to where I want. And I could change the color temperature, but for this purpose, I don't think it's meaningful. That might be exactly what I'd like to save. I just say OK. I'd go up to Save, and it already has a name. I'd say Save as a new version, so I can keep the old version if I want to make 2 more changes to it. And we're done. I now have my new operation. Just combining 2 lovely tools. They're free. They're both very sophisticated. They're both miracles compared to what we used to work with decades ago. And they're there for your use. That's my demo. And
Stop sharing.
I'm out of there.
Stop sharing.
Well, yeah, you're ready to go. Jill is ready to go.
I
So
hope I'm ready to go.
we'll find out. I will stop my sharing, and now Jill can come in and play the same game.
Okay.
Jill, we're not hearing you if you're trying to speak.
Whether it's on.
Oh,
Can we do it with yours?
my speaker?
No, with your
Want to borrow my computer?
microphone.
Yes.
We can hear you now.
Because you can hear me now? Oh, good. Okay. So these are my cliff notes here. And I have a couple of other windows open for demonstration purposes. Sometimes because of your screen size, sometimes because of your eyesight, like mine. You want to change the size of the fonts on your screen
Text.
and the text font, text on your screens. But you can change the size of not all windows because it has to do with the way it's the applications program. But for instance, F11 normally gives you, excuse me, a completely full screen of whatever your particular application has. This does not work with certain ones, such as Thunderbird, because F11 does something else there. Or you can change the size of the font inside of the screen with a Control Plus, Control, not on the text, this text one. In Thunderbird, it only changes the size of your
Message.
portion of the screen that's the message. So all of these things happen differently, and maybe you want to adjust the size of your menus or the text in the menus, or maybe you want to change the size of the title bars or some other part of the window. Not every single program, but many programs have exceptions. So you have to test it out. Write down your preferred settings before you go changing things so that you can get back to them. If you if you change them and don't remember what they were, or you click on Restore Defaults, which will get you back to whatever the system default is, which might not be what you want. So there are two major ways to change text One is through the system settings. So you go to system settings and displays, and you can change the size of the text in menus and title bars concurrently. So I'll make them smaller. And do I have to apply it? Yes, apply. Now you may notice that my main bar up here has gotten small. My bar for Chromium has gotten small. My bar and text in the text editor has gotten small, but only the title bar has gotten small in Thunderbird. This is because they've done some kind of programming thing that for menus that overrides these resettings. Okay, back to here, and we'll make them bigger than normal. If you make it too big, you might not be able to get to the settings if you make it so that the apply goes off the screen here. So now I've got really big menu bar here, title bar here, and top of title bar and title bar over here. I'm going to go back to 1, which is the default, and make sure it's applied. Yes, keep this configuration. Sayonara. Another way is with Ubuntu Tweak tool. With Ubuntu Tweak tool, you go to fonts, and you have 4 different settings you can change. And they do not follow each other. And there are some problems with the window title font. It will make the font bigger, but not the bar itself. So for instance, if I change this to 20 instead of 13, 20, and say select, you can see that the font is a little too big to be seen in the top title bar here, up where it says
Top
Mozilla
center.
Top Center, but it hasn't changed here, and it hasn't changed here. And I'm going to make it back to 13, so 13, select, back down in size. I can change the font to a different font. And let's see, find a good different one, Urub, and select. And you see it's gone to Urub, which is a squinchy kind of a font here. Okay, back up to Ubuntu. Ubuntu regular, Ubuntu bold. Select. The monospace font is going to change the internal font here inside of the text editor and some other places that are specifying generic monospace. So using a non-monospace font is not, wait a minute, where are we? I will change it to, I want the mono. Where's the mono? Here we go. I'm going to change it to Ubuntu Mono Bold. It's been at Ubuntu Mono Regular. And I'm going to make the font much bigger. Select. And boom, this has gone to bold and much bigger. Okay. Back to, nope, wrong one. Cancel. Sorry. Back to 13 and mono regular, select. I'm putting these back now because otherwise I will not not get them right. It'll take me hours to get them back. I have not figured out, it says document font. I have not figured out any place that changes yet. Some application must use it, but none of the ones that I've looked at over a couple of hours this morning got changed with that one. Default font, however, changes your menu font. So I'll make Ubuntu bold italic, select, and the menus, but not the one in Thunderbird, and the title bar here. No, this is a menu. Change to Ubuntu condensed bold. Italic, sorry. Ubuntu condensed bold italic. You've got to be careful here because there are fonts that are not readable, like this one. And interesting. Oh, it didn't change. Oh, I did it on the document font. Sorry. Where was it? Here we go. Select. And now I can't see what I'm doing. Fortunately, I remember that it's this one up here, and I can go change it to something that's readable. And now I can get back to my normal Ubuntu font. In any case, the bottom line is you can change your fonts. You can make things more or less readable on your screen. But you have to play around with it to get the right combination, because some things, for instance, Thunderbird has its own place where it sets its fonts rather than doing something that's system-wide, which I find extremely annoying, because if I'm going to change the fonts, I want to have them all follow each other. In any case, I think that's all of my talk. Just be sure that you keep track of what you're doing and preferably write down your settings before you change anything so that you don't get stuck not knowing where you're at or how to get back. It's like writing down the instructions for the adventure game.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Okay, then if you'll take off your mic, I'll put mine on.
Okay, first stop.
On my.
Whoa. I have to turn off my sound too. My speaker.
We're bound to get better at that soon. Let's see, you're going to unshare, right?
I did.
You did. Okay.
This is you.
This is me, right?
Yep.
Really? Oh, because it's not doing video, right?
You're sharing?
Hi, okay, here we are back again. I just want to point out the various levels on which Jill's talk was operating. Down in the fine print there, we were working with text, and we had the Unity tweak tool for doing that. If you have a competent operating system, you have something analogous. If you're in Linux, you probably have 5 things that are analogous. That's a nice one for the way we are using it. Notice that within text font issues, some systems work in some programs or in some modes or in some parts of a display screen. It's not a given that they're uniform across. Uniform across, we went to the system settings, displays, and we used that image scale size. We changed the size and everything changed. And in between the two, there was a tool for text scaling rather than picking by the individual font in the Unity Tweak tool. So a lot of different levels in which we played with the same thing. And the overview is that most of what you're looking at on your screen is in two separate flavors, picture and text. You can run them together or you can run them separately. And then once you're in text, there's a whole lot of things you can do with it. That's the bottom lines. And now you've got tools for doing it.
A couple of the bottom lines.
It really pays to tune your standard window for your vision and for the length of lines you're normally dealing with. You might want to go to a condensed font because if it's big enough for you to read, the right end of it doesn't show in the amount of window space you have. So you can play with all those factors until you get what works well for you. Then, like me, you'll be waiting for your next pair of prescription glasses. And in the meantime, your normal isn't working right. And if you change it, you know that in a couple of weeks, the new glasses won't be working right. You can play with that too. Okay, back we go. That was text scaling. And I have a story to tell about hardware. And I'll start by finding a different image. Again, I want Photox for that. Just a moment. I know you're in here. Photox. Whoops. My changing images changed right then. Here comes Photox again. We're back to my regular set, and I booby-trapped this at the newest in my regular set. So it won't take long to get there. Here's all the pictures I've been looking for earlier. I'll step through them quickly. This was one of those examples for what I showed you how to do. Here's another, not a Mandelbrot fractal this time. Here's another, oh, that's the one we showed. Isn't that nice? Somebody else did that. It's not a Mandelbrot, as you knew. And isn't that nice? I've got a few of my wallpapers from outside. These last two were candidates for winners in an iPhone international wallpaper contest. I liked them. So I took them, I enhanced them a little bit to ways I liked. They were originally 4:3 ratio. I sized them to fit my 9:16 screen, 16:9 screen. Here's another one of mine. Interesting fact in a Mandelbrot, when you go to this level, if this black were the ocean, you could sail all the way up this. As far as it goes, there'd be a channel for you. Amazing little fact of some of them. This is the image I'm looking for my next talk. We have a client who got a new computer.
Desktop.
We set them up with a desktop, like our laptops, very powerful, an HP Elite desk, a prestigious line, very good quality. And it had a Core i7 and it had 16 gigs of RAM in it. And we added a 1 terabyte solid state drive to it. That cost us $110 the day we needed it. And the rest of the computer went $310. So for $420, she got about I think, $1,300 computer a few years old. And because it was a very high quality computer, in very good shape, it didn't have a cosmetic scratch on it. And everything looked fine inside. It was bought refurbished, so the inside was also pure clean. It was just like new. We put Ubuntu on it, and we delivered it to her, and she went home. And then she called and said, "Whoa, it can't get to the internet." I said, "Did you plug the cable in?" And that's when I found out her prior desktop had been running on Wi-Fi. Now, Wi-Fi isn't common when you go to buy a desktop. It's an option usually. And if you were outfitting 2,000 office desks with the newer computer, you probably wouldn't want it. You probably want to run the cable into them so that each desk goes where it should go, doesn't go where it shouldn't go, and the signals aren't all out in the air for the next building to pick up as well. Yeah, you protect them, but a wire is usually the practical, better solution in-house. So this one didn't come with wireless. We weren't thinking of it. We thought you just plug in a cable. Well, we had one USB Wi-Fi adapter in-house ready to install, and I installed it. Pulled it out of its new package and tried it out. I couldn't get it to work. I was very surprised. It was old enough that it shouldn't be a new problem of some kind. And usually we don't have an issue, but we did. We took it to another computer and neither one could detect it. Never mind hooking in with the right password and all. It couldn't detect it, that it was there. So we tried it in 2 more computers and decided we'd bought a dead one and had never plugged it in until now. What could we get quickly for her? She brought the computer back, and that night, before she brought it back, we placed an order. By the afternoon of the next day, our local Best Buy had this ready for us to pick up outside the store, and we did. It's a highly recommended, small but powerful, faster, 1200 to 600 on theoretical speed, the class it's working in, and it goes for $40 to $45. So we had that and her computer the next day, put them together, and what do you know? It didn't work in her computer, but it got detected. Got detected in our other computers, and we could run it in our other computers, but not in the new one for her. We worked on that for several days, trying to figure out what would fix the problem. We uninstalled drivers to start, but we went back to see if there's anything else we should uninstall that was left over from the earlier one. Couldn't find a thing. And it was working okay in our computers, but we didn't think it was particularly wonderful. And we decided maybe we needed good Linux support for it, so we called ASUS, which we thought was pretty good for this sort of support. They did not support it for Linux, period. Would not, did not. It had a Linux set of drivers inside its tiny install disk that came with it, and we'd installed it, and then we'd uninstalled it, and they weren't going to help us, period. We marked it for return and went online, and we ended up getting one of these. We were very leery about how long it would take. It's a Chinese product, and turns out that their partner in marketing it is Amazon. And Amazon gives pretty quick delivery some of the time. So we went on and learned about it and said, this looks really good. It said it was designed, in the fine print down here, it says AC3L. Well, it's their Model AC3 system with Linux support. That's the L. And it's specifically sold with the Linux support attached for a few dollars more. We got it shipped overnight, starting late afternoon. And
On Friday.
on Friday. And we were able to pick it up on Saturday.
Well, no, they dropped it off in front of our house.
They dropped it off at our front door on Saturday, and it cost about $15 extra for that extremely rapid service. The warehouse had to be somewhere near us, but I don't know the details. And all I can tell you is it worked, and we were glad it did. Again, we were trying to get it back to her quickly. Wasn't that simple. We plugged it in, it got detected
On our
with
computer.
a hell of a lot more antenna strength than this one had, or this one had. It worked very nicely. And with everything working nicely, we still found that it couldn't connect to our router. We were very puzzled by that. We put it on other computers and they could. So it had something to do with remaining cruft in the software installed on the new computer. Well, now it was time for the support. We went to support and they suggested make sure you remove this and that. Did your prior adapter have an uninstall command of its own?
No.
No. Did your prior one have which particular driver was it running? We searched and did not find the driver. Or maybe we did on the first pass, and removed it. Didn't help. And we literally spent days debugging it when we didn't want to. But we got to know their support fellow for us, who happened to be not in China, not in the US, but his email sounded like it was from next door, perfectly routine, local US English. And we do worse with support from Texas. And it turns out he's in Greece. We've been talking with him. We could talk with him multiple times per day, but he was talking before we were awake, and we were talking long after he was asleep at the ends of the discussion. So we went back and forth. We did testing. We had other things we had to do too. So we had times we were down, but we worked quite assiduously at it. And I'd say it took about 10 rounds of two-way message to get to where we tested enough, and finally concluded that we had to bite the ultimate bullet and do a total reinstall of the Ubuntu. Well, we kept the /home folder that we'd already installed for the client with all their old data and their preferred settings for the applications, but we had to reinstall Ubuntu, Unity, the system load monitor up here that we use to see the progress is going well, or to test over the phone by having someone tell us, and about 50 other applications that we add. All of that got added. Then the /home got restored from a backup. Then we had to fine tune a bunch of the connections between the two of them. But Eureka, it was now working. These are lovely. We're going to recommend them. It's called a Bros Trend AC3L. And you're going to be able to work with that. And the cost of it without the rapid delivery was well under $40 for a major piece of equipment. You're not seeing the backside of it in this picture. The backside of that packaging is holding a base and a cable. So you could put this up on a shelf or maybe in the next room if you wanted to. Or you could just plug it straight in with that USB connector. A lot of options, and we like it a lot. The culprit, again, appears to have been our earliest one, corrupting our system so far down that all the troubleshooting between all of us didn't get it loose. A reinstall should have been started earlier, but it was the most expensive simple step, and we'd put it off. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. And Let me see. I think I'm ready to go back to the main menu again. Bear with me as I.
Anyway, we were able to deliver it. The bottom line is we were able to deliver it. It was fine. And I have never had better tech support. This place deserves to be patronized, to buy their stuff, because their service was wonderful.
We don't normally recommend Amazon. We have preferred places other than Amazon, but in this case, way to go. It got us the official support. It comes with a 2-year warranty also. Looking good. And the hassle had to do with something totally different that might flag you for other issues in the future. Let's see. Not getting back to the other side. What do I need here? Do I have to stop sharing to do that?
Yes.
That shouldn't be right. Maybe it is. Let's see.
Tab 2.
What?
Alt tab. Alt tab. Chromium. Where's your Chromium? Did you shut it?
That's my problem. No, I didn't, but I wasn't in it. Okay, and let's see. What? Say who?
You closed it?
Not. Bear with me a minute, folks. You can hear me, right? Good. Good. Well, let me see what I've got there. Yep. Have to move it back to there. Okay, it was about here. Now it's there. Very interesting. Okay, I think you're back to the draft agenda. Am I correct? Jill?
No.
No? Not. Have to share that again now?
Yes.
I shouldn't have shared. That was the answer. Got it. Chromium. I'm running Chromium and Firefox for different parts, hence some of the confusion. And now
D.
And now this.
Now
share. And now go back and look.
Yes.
No, it's supposed to be on that other one.
What other one?
The different one open.
That's your Firefox. I suggest you close it.
Can do.
There
Good.
it
That's
is.
the problem. Okay. Layers on layers. I need a lot of practice of this. You knew that. So that was the external Wi-Fi. The article is the article that led us to the final one. It has other good suggestions as well, but we picked their absolute favorite and are agreeing. Grow raspberries with a Raspberry Pi. I don't know how many people are going to do this one, and it's a little late for this growing season, but this suggests a lot of ideas for people that want to play with Linux on a little inexpensive tool, which is computer run. So let's open it. And look, see. Oh, for gosh sakes.
What are you doing?
I'm looking to see what I go. Oh, no, I say no. Why isn't that simply opening?
I don't know. Did you click on it?
Oh. Because it's opening Firefox, I bet you.
Yes.
There we go. Growing fresh vegetables with a Raspberry Pi and Mender, which this fellow is going to explain about. And
You may wish to enlarge it.
may wish to. It's going slower than I'm used to, but it's going. Okay. And again, this set of combinations today is slowing some things down. He's going to build a magic piece of equipment and a hose, and he's going to literally be able to go out of country and leave his garden growing.
And water it when it needs it.
And so when he goes and visits, it's going to be all grown and ready for picking. And he's telling you how he did it and what the pieces were and what the kit was. And this is a wonderful introduction to 57 other varieties of similar projects. I think you're going to like it a lot as a concept device. A few of you will know someone who puts it in their garden. So that's that one, and we recommend it. Back to Chromium. I need a button for that. Oh, that's awful.
Just try clicking on this.
On which?
That one.
That's one way, but the other way, nope, the other way doesn't work.
Because you're still sharing?
I thought I could share as long as well, I'm going to be sorry, but I'll stop sharing. And then, can I get back to it from here?
Yeah, you're up here.
Get back to it from here.
But they
Okay.
can't see it.
Oh, now I've got to share this
Yeah, you've got to share this.
in Chromium, right?
Yes.
This has to get automated. Speaking of automation. And no. Better. Where's the share? This isn't making
D?
sense.
Did you hit D?
Ah,
Or
No,
you may
I-
want to do it by application
oh,
so that it doesn't.
make it faster?
Now you pick the application you want, which I think is this.
This one, isn't it?
No, that's.
Am I going to be able to shuttle to this if I pick this one?
Yes.
Let's see if that's true. Good. Maybe we tamed it. Maybe. Okay. Hot Internet. I will just briefly mention Alternative 2, which is a wonderful tool to know about. We've mentioned it in the past, and I'll be using it shortly, so I'll skip through it here. And this is quite nice. You can get very poor images, fuzzy, incompetent, poorly cropped on the internet, but the best of them don't come close to this. This is different. See if we can take a look. That's not doing it this way, Jill.
Just do all
Here I am. I clicked on it.
And you're in here.
Now what?
Now what?
Yeah, what do I do here? Just,
What do you want to do?
I wanted them to see the website I just went to. Oh, I have to go to Firefox, right?
Right. Oh, you need to share Firefox. This isn't.
That says stop sharing.
What?
It says stop sharing. Are you looking at
Yeah,
my screen?
stop share. No,
I should stop?
this is what's here.
I don't have an automatic way to do this. Okay, so where am I going?
You're going up to Chromium. You're going to start the sharing again.
D,
D.
all the way from there?
Yep.
And now what? I
guess
don't have the screen. I go
Well,
to,
you hit the application window, you'll have it.
so I do. There may yet be hope in the world, but this has to be automated. Okay, and this vast is the name of the place, and Vast Open Collection is a subset of it, which are not copyrighted. You can take a copy of these. Let's look at one. This is kind of nice, isn't it? Let's first of all, where am I? Good.
Right here.
Let's make it a little bigger. Wait a minute, I didn't expect that. I expected it to be bigger. That's not bigger. That's bigger. That's bigger. You're getting a feel for it? So I could go travel a long way in here. These are big photos. One click takes it downward. No. Right click versus left click.
It's a little slow because the other things.
Well, I was doing things quickly. I'm just not. Anyway, and it's got just tons of stuff in it. So if you want some really nice wallpaper, or just to look at some nice pictures that aren't your own, maybe this. There we go. It has lots of information in it about how to use it. And here it is, kind of showing you playing with it. And you can get a print for only $600. Might include shipping, might not. And here we come. Lots more stuff. I mean, one tiny little subset of stuff here. And more and more categories. Enjoy. This is just a lovely place to go take a look. And you don't have to spend $600. Good. And I can get back from that one. One way worked. Okay, that was here. There's so much more to do, and we're getting along in time. Let me think and see. There's a lot of security stuff here. I want to flag this first one. I'll just talk about it. You can read the link later. But this again is the Free Software Foundation. Very good people, worth supporting if you have some money to donate. And you're getting benefits from them all the time with Linux. The Free Software Foundation says, don't let proprietary digital voting disrupt democracy. And they've got a good rundown on what that's about. I recommend very highly that you read it. And they'll have a letter you can send to your senators and representatives too, to push harder for this. They'll give the reasons, they'll give the data. It's a very good read. Get it up to where it counts, because the whole election can be tipped. I don't like that one bit. And you know that Russia is helping to tip it. Your car is spying on you can wait, and how to stop it can wait. We'll put those off. And these can wait. Lots of them can wait. I might come back today if we have time, but I want a little more fun that you can use. Okay, here's another one you're going to enjoy. That one was photographs. This one is, I'll let you look first and then we'll talk about it. Oh my gosh, I finally solved that problem. Thank you, Jill. Let's see if we can remember what did it. It just came back like it should.
Sure, I don't.
We'll practice and write it down, and then we'll have it. Andreas Vannerstedt, I believe, lives in Sweden, if I remember. And he considers himself an artist on a computer. Let's take a look at some of what he's doing. He's building gadgets, just like the one for watering your garden, except these just look interesting. They don't do work of the regular kind. Let's see what they are. And by the way, he's got a name for them, Motion Designs. Here he goes. Now I ask you, is that fun or not? And notice there's a lot more where it came from here. And the ones that we've looked at do not have much repeat. They have different things in them that are equally fascinating. I think a lot of you and your friends will enjoy this. And you don't need to be on a FOSS system. You just need to be on the internet. So you'll know how to look for that. Oh, that feels so good. Go back where I came from. Isn't he good? That's Andreas Vannerstedt. Hope you do well with it. This one, I'm hopeful Dennis will demo to us next month. And it's a way you can play Android games on Linux. So Dennis says he'll take a good hard look at it and maybe it'll be ready. This one offers comic strips online, lots of them. Remember, we think a lot of you are going to be indoors more than you want to be. This virus isn't going away as easy as we'd hoped. And you want to stay safe for you and everyone else. So the less interaction, the better. Definitely wear a face mask when there might be interaction, etc., etc. We have relaxing videos, really fascinating deep sea video stuff from NOAA, and it will lead to a lot more of the same. Let me take a look at one so I can tell you how to lead to more of the same. This is last year's U.S. deep sea exploration in the southeastern U.S. An ROV, a remotely operated vehicle, and it's what they did. I'd show you this year's ongoing. You could watch some of it live, but they've scratched it, and they're staying home and such with COVID virus issues. So this is what they did last year. This is where they did it, and where am I? I think this might be Florida.
You're in a balloon, you damn fool.
But here we go. Here are some of the video highlights. And you can backtrack on this to other explorations, all the way back to NOAA, which is just loaded with really good videos, really good technical information on lots of topics. But For instance, this one has a video and a learn more button, and you can do either. Let's go to the learn more, which will also have the video, of course. And this is going to be a trip looking at tiny items or big items down way deep. A real treat. Take a trip to somewhere else. And again, they all lead to others, and it's a lovely trip at NOAA. So, highly recommended. Well, if you really like what they aren't doing this year, maybe meanwhile you want to do it for yourself. Here's a do-it-yourself project for an underwater ROV, just like theirs, except this one costs $850 total. And it's got a lot of stuff in it, including the computer running Linux. And you can read all about this one and see videos of it. You'll have a good link to start and good places to go from there. So I think they make a nice pair. I'll include them. And if anyone does it, let me know. Well, you don't have to go underwater. You can take a virtual tour of the Statue of Liberty. That's a national park. And the link will lead you to other links like it, to other national parks. So I'll throw that one in. You'll have a good time with that, and so will everyone else you know. And to wrap up this list, hilarious travel posters for America's national parks based on their one-star reviews. What can that be? So glad. Here's the first one coming up. This is a look. Wait a minute. Let me F11 full screen for a better view of what I want to see. And the fine print says Joshua Tree National Park. And the poster says, the only thing to do here is to walk around the desert. Try a few more. This one says Death Valley National Park. There you go. Yeah, that's why it's there. This one says,
What's that, the Redwoods?
Sequoia National Park, California. Right, the Redwood Forest Supreme. And the comment is, there are bugs and they'll bite you on your face. Boy, for some people, another reason to stay home. And so on and so forth. You'll have fun with these. I'm, by the way, up very near the top of the set. And they may lead to others.
F11.
So enjoy. F11 to get me back. Put in the regular mode with top menus. And oh, it's so nice to have it running again just when I don't need it anymore. Well, we're coming up on 2 hours of runtime. And I think maybe I'll save some of the others for next month. This is a very good set to keep you busy in the meantime and to keep you out of some trouble in the meantime and tell others how. And I think I will go on back to questions and answers if I can find my Chromium. It should be hiding in here. Oh, this is so much nicer now. I think we finally got it tamed. Tune in next month to see if we can keep it tamed. Did anyone have questions, answers, topics? Raise your hand first or use the hand in the lower left of the Jitsi screen to raise your hand. And we'll take you one by one so everyone doesn't make noise together. Anything? Anybody?
This is what people are seeing there.
Oh, sorry. What?
Stop sharing.
Am I back yet?
There you are. You're back.
Okay. Now you can see me, hopefully. Did anybody have anything they wanted to comment on? Anything they want to ask? Charlie, I see you. Okay, let's put you online. And what have you got? Is your microphone on or your space bar?
You have to hold the space bar.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. We talked about this before, but I would say that anyone that is going to be using Firefox browser, I better take some looking into the security of it. Last May, they introduced a new feature and didn't really say much about it. The net effect of it was that when you did visiting various sites, it recorded them, and it's quite easy for a person to use your computer, find out where you've been, and see the addresses and the passwords of the sites you went to. Why they haven't fixed that, I don't know. I would suggest that if you use Firefox, there's a little symbol at the top right-hand corner. It looks like 3 bars. If you go there, you can see a new entry which is called passwords. You may be shocked at what the browser has captured and what is available for anybody to see who has access to your browser. There's also another entry called options. And if you go there and go to security, you can find out how to change the settings that were default that allow all this to happen, such that you can have a master password. People will need to know that in order to get a hold of your information. I wish I could show you and explain it, but I was quite concerned about it. Dick doesn't encourage you to use not Thunderbird, but Mozilla Firefox. This could be one reason why. My bad experiences have been using Mozilla Firefox on Windows 10. I have not used it on Linux. So I don't know whether the same situations occur. I suspect they might. But this is a bad example of introducing features with little or no fanfare, not really realizing what they were subjecting the users to, long-term users. I got a chance to see many secure sites that I've been to, and it showed my password, my access websites, and the worst thing about it was showing the passwords with the English translations, so that anyone that looked at it knew exactly how to go and get there, use my passwords, and also use my usernames. So I consider it to be quite a bad breach. Again, I can only speak for the Windows 10 version of it, but if you want to, you can check into it on your own. That's about all I can contribute.
Thank you, Charlie. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. Do you have a best article link to recommend about this, perhaps? Something like?
As far as I've been able to find out, there's been very little published about it.
How do you know about it?
I just discovered it by accident by clicking looking at this password thing, this little password entry in the menu. I was shocked when I saw all my sites with my passwords all listed there for anybody to see and use.
I'm not surprised, and I'd like to know more. If anyone can send me a good link with up-to-date information, I'll make sure it's on next month's agenda. And I presume by then we'll know a lot more about what to do about it or why we don't have to do anything anymore.
Sure.
So let's keep in touch with that, okay? Thank you so much.
I'll see if I can find one too.
Charlie, I'm
Yes.
looking at that menu from the 3 dashes, and I'm not
In Firefox?
in Firefox. I'm not I don't think I'm seeing what you're seeing. What is it was the logins and passwords?
Yes. Click it and see what you see.
Okay, I'm seeing my username.
You see a password?
Oh, yeah, I see a password with a little I that I can click on to see what it is.
I think Firefox is warning us, but I think we better look more before we know what we're talking about.
Okay,
We are not getting, we're getting a Firefox warning that is saying to look elsewhere. I don't think it's done anything as a result. So that's the Linux version. I don't know the status of it at all.
And of course, somebody has to be on my computer. They're not going to be able to see it from elsewhere unless I'm sharing the screen.
unless you've got a relative or something that's using your computer, or unless you
Maybe.
have
Yeah.
podcast and searching your computer.
Yeah.
To be continued.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other topics, comments, thoughts before we ring off? Yay? Nay? Okay. I remind everybody that there's a virus out there. Wear a face mask and stay away as much as you can from other people, unfortunately.
Hide inside and play with your computer.
I remind you that there may be viruses in your computer. Switch to Linux when you can. Try not to go to really iffy websites, etc., etc. And I remind you that whatever hits your computer, as we described earlier today and hurt with for days, if you got a backup, you can easily reinstall. So make sure your backups are up to date. Thanks. Have a good month.
Thank you, Dick. Thank you, Jill.
Okay, thank you. Same to you. Same to everybody.